This is a special presentation brought to you by the Daf Map, based on one of the lectures given by HaRav Yehonasan Berger Shlita. Please check out our other videos and shiurim at www.thedafmap.com.
Today's shiur represents the beginning of the new parak, the 8th parak, parak Shnei Nazirim of Maseches Nazir. Before we begin, as you can see where we're beginning, at the very beginning of the new parak in the upper part of Daf Nun Zayin, we have a topic heading on the side, which reads, Echad Omer L'Shnei Nazirim. A person says to two people who had vowed to be Nazirim, She'ro'ah she'echad mehem she'nitma. He saw one of the two Nazirim become tomei, become defiled. Defiled in the context of Nazirim, we're talking about the death defilement. V'heim shosku, and they didn't react. In other words, they accepted what this man said. Meviim korbonas tuma v'tara b'shutfis. You will see in the Mishnah how they bring the sacrifices required of a Nazir tomei and the sacrifices that a Nazir upon his completion, which was called Nazir Tara, they bring these sacrifices b'shutfis, in partnership, umasnim, and they bring them conditionally, stating conditions or stipulations. That will become much clearer as we approach the Mishnah. Before learning the Mishnah, for those who have not learned the laws of Nazirus till now, so just be aware that a Nazir who becomes defiled to the dead, he has to stop his Nazirus, and under certain circumstances of defilement, as we saw in the Mishnah on Daf Mem Tes, he not only stops his Nazirus counting, but he loses the previous days that he counted, and he must then bring sacrifices after observing 7 days of purification, and then restarts or starts all over his Nazirus counting, his Nazirus, which will be a Nazirus of Tara, of purity. The Mishnah, Shnei Nazirim Shomar Lohen Echad. Two Nazirim are walking along, and a third person says to them, Roisi Echad Mikem Shenitma V'Eini Yodea Eize Mikem. I saw one of you become tomei, but I don't know which one of you it was. In other words, just imagine a piece of, let's say, corpse flesh was thrown at them and touched one of them. Or one of them walked over a grave and thereby became tomei. But it's not clear which one. Megalchin, they will have to take the haircut, the Nazir Tuma haircut, mevi'in, and then they bring sacrifices, korban tuma, the korban tahara, v'omer, and one of them says to the other. So in the meantime, we have them partnering, bringing a set of korbanos. They pay together, they pool the money and buy a set of korban tuma. Korban tuma is made up of 3 sacrifices: an osham sacrifice, ola, and chatos. Korban tara is made of 3 sacrifices: an ola, chatos, and shlomim. And then one of them says as follows: Im ani hu tomei, if I am the one that became defiled, korban tuma sheli, then the korban tuma that we're bringing now is for me. The korban tara shelcha, and the korban tara, the 3 korbanos that a Nazir Torah brings at the conclusion of his Nazirus, they are brought for you. You didn't become tomei, so you will use these korbanos for your requirement. Ve'im ani hu hator, and if I am the one that never became defiled, korban tara sheli, the korban tuma shelcha, then the korban of tara is on my behalf, and the korban tuma is for you. V'soifrim shloishim yom. they then count another 30 days, observing Nazirus for another 30 days. Umevian korban taro, and they bring a korban taro. They pool their money and bring a korban taro. V'omer, and he says, Imani hu hatomei, if I was the one that had been tomei, korban tumo shali, the korban tumo that was brought 30 days ago, that was on my behalf. The korban taro shelcha, v'zeh korban taro si, and the korban taro that was brought 30 days ago, that was for you, and the korban taro that we're bringing today, this is for me. V'imani hu hator, and if I am the one that never was defiled, korban taro sheli, the korban taro that we brought 30 days ago was for me. The korban tumo shelcha, and the korban tumo that was brought 30 days ago was for you. V'zeh korban taroscha, and the korban that we're bringing today, the korban taro that we're bringing today, the three korbanos that you bring at the conclusion of Nazirus, that is for you. So with that, they've covered all their tracks. Before we move on into the Gemara, let us just mention a detail that we didn't emphasize in reading the Mishnah. At stage 1, you can see we have a Roman numeral number 1. At that point where the doubt had been presented and the solution involved their taking haircuts and bringing the sacrifices, that can be done only after 30 days of Nazirus are observed on each one's part. Because a haircut done earlier than that for each one, being that we don't know which one was Tomei, would be a violation of his Nazirus. If you know for sure who became Tomei, so then of course the Nazir observes a 7-day period of purification. At the end of those 7 days he takes a Nazir Tuma haircut. But here we can't afford to wait just 7 days. We have to make sure that each one observed a full 30 days of Nazirus before taking the haircut. And even so, the haircut that they take will be considered the haircut of a Nazir Tomei. And hence, the additional 30 days has to be observed on each one's part as well. The Gemara. On the side, we have a topic heading, Ha-Gemara Shoyeles al Din HaMishnah. The Gemara is going to ask a question on the law of the Mishnah. Me'achar she'medubor b'shloisha noshim. In our Mishnah scenario, you had 3 people. You had the 2 Nazirim and the onlooker. 3 is, interestingly enough, in English there's a common saying that goes 2 is company and 3 is a crowd. The concept of a crowd is a halachic concept known as rabim, the many. And we have laws concerning tumah, where tumah arises in under doubtful circumstances. Since we're talking about 3 people, have a dinam, our note continues, kesafek tumah birshus harabim v'tohar. When a doubt concerning matters of defilement arises in a rabim, in a public setting, and here, public setting is defined by numbers of people, not the domain per se. So there are 3 people, and a sofek tumah situation, when it's birshus harabim, we have a doubt, we rule tohar. The origin for this halacha, we'll see mention made of this in the Gemara, but before we get into the Gemara itself, there is a parsha, a section of the Torah in Sefer Bamidbar that deals with what's known as the Sota woman. Sota is a married woman who fell under suspicion of behaving immorally, having intimacy with another man, and in the face of this doubt, the woman, because of the doubt concerning what? Intimacy, she is forbidden to her husband. The Torah refers to the sota by using the word tomei, even though in conventional defilement terms, it's not tuma in the standard sense of contacting sources of defilement like the dead or shrutzim or nevelos, dead animals, but nevertheless the Torah uses the word tuma in the context of the sota. The sota representing a situation of doubt. We don't know if she had intimacy with the other gentleman or not. And where does the doubt arise? The doubt arises in a private setting. What is the private setting? Man and woman, man we'll call paramour, and married woman go into a room by themselves. That's the classic case of sota. And the result, if you have the necessary testimony regarding that, witnesses that knew she was warned by her husband not to be in private with that other man, and witnesses that saw her go into the room, the witnesses in this case do not testify concerning the actual act of intimacy, but the testimony states that they went in private into a room. So how many people were there where the doubt arises? In the actual room, there were only him and her. 2 people. And in a case like that, we call that sofek tuma birshus hayochid. It's an issue of tuma. As I said, the Torah refers to that as tuma, and it's the result of prohibition, where the woman is prohibited to go back to her husband until, of course, the sota ceremony takes place in the Beis Hamikdash. But up till that point, she is prohibited to her husband, all because of a doubt that arose in private circumstances. And private is defined by 2. But once you have another person there, it's no longer considered yochid, private, it's considered rabim, public. And the Torah doesn't say that that's prohibited. So that we can state the rule, sofek tuma birshus harabim, 3 people are there, tahor. It's not considered defilement. So then in our Mishnah, we impose upon them the rules that would apply to actual tuma. We're seeing in the Mishnah that even though there's an issue of doubt, we're saying they have to bring the korban of a Nazir tomei. Why should that be? Is it not a situation of sofek tuma birshus harabim, and the ruling is tahor? So now the Gemara. Katani, shnei nazirim she'omar lohem. There are 2 nazirim walking along, and a third party says, "Roisi echad mikem shenitma v'eini yodea eza mikem." I saw one of you become defiled, and I don't know which one. And the Mishnah went on to tell us what they have to do. Amai. Why is the Mishnah saying that they have to treat their situation as one of actual tumah? Kol safei tumah birshus hayochid meihecha yalfinan la. Misota. All matters of doubt concerning defilement in a private domain, where are those laws derived from? From the case of the sota. Ma sota boel v'niveles. Just like in the case of sota, there is the boel is the man, niveles is the woman. The word boel literally has to do with the act of intimacy, but in order to perform that, you need 2. Af kol sofek tuma b'rishus hayochid kagon ti'iko beitrei. So too, in general, when a matter of doubt concerning defilement arises in a private domain, it would involve 2 people. Avol hacha Shnei Nazirim v'hai dekoi gabeon. But in our Mishnah, you don't have two people, you have three. You have the two Nazirim and the onlooker. Literally the one that's standing by them. Hotzlosa. That amounts to three people. Havile sofek tumer b'rishus harabim. Oh, with three people, it then becomes a doubt concerning defilement in a public setting. And when there's a doubt concerning tumah in a public setting, doubts result in our ruling purity, non-defilement. So why in the Mishnah do we see us treating these Nazirim with the laws of tumah? Omar Rabo bar Rav Huna be Omer. The case of the onlooker is where he is saying as follows: Ro'isi tuma shenizrika beinechem. You know, you guys were walking way up ahead, and I was standing in the distance, and I saw tuma thrown at you. It touched one of you. I don't know which one it touched. The point is that the three are not together. So in the environment of the tumah, where the tumah doubt arose, there were only the two guys. Hence, it's a sofek tumah b'rshus hayochid. Omar Rav Ashi daika nami. Rav Ashi says by careful reading, you can see that that's what it was. That he was not standing next to them. The third fellow was in the distance. We continue at the top of Omid Beis. Dekotani, it's stated in our Mishnah, V'eini Yodeya Eze Mikem. I never knew, using the translation drawn from the Tosfos, the expression Eini Yodeya implies I never knew which one of you it touched. That indicates that he was at the distance. It's not that he was next to them, saw and forgot. But I never knew which one of you. Shma mino. So this proves that our Mishnah is in fact talking about those circumstances that the third party really wasn't there, amongst them, next to them, but rather was at the distance. Before going further in the Gemara, we have a topic and structural notes to take care of. On the side of the Gemara, you can see we have a nosei/mivneh heading. Roman numerals 1 and 2 will appear in the Gemara. They represent shtei lishonos, two versions. Shmuel's name appears in a house shape. So we're going to have two versions in presenting Shmuel. In fact, Shmuel will appear in both versions with the same expression. But the issue here is how to apply what Shmuel says. We have two versions of that. And we've written Shuvas Shmuel b'shnei halishonos be'isha v'katan. Shmuel's response in the two versions where he says woman and child. L'she'elah, his response is to a question: Eich muter lasos giluach b'sofek tumo. How can we do the haircut that is obligatory in a tumah situation, but here you have a sofek tumah situation? There's a doubt. Maybe there was no tumah to begin with regard to each one of the people. There was tumah, but we don't know each one. So when you isolate one person, it's not with any certainty that he was tameh. And what's going to happen? That guy, or actually each one of these guys, is going to actually experience two Nazir type haircuts. Now, a Nazir type haircut means the hair of one's head, all of the hair on one's head is shaven off. How is Eich muter lasos giluach besofek tuma harei oivrim al bal takifu? The Torah warns against shaving around one's head. The pasuk says, "Lo sakifu pa'as roshchem." Many of you are probably familiar with a concept of peos. Peos, sometimes it's translated as side locks. In some communities, there is a custom of having the hair near one's ears grow down long into curls, and as we say, they're called side locks. The strict Torah obligation does not demand that, but the Torah does demand that when one shaves or goes to the barber or what have you, he doesn't completely shave off, smooth down to the skin layer that hair which grows on one's temple area, the area right in front of one's ears. That is right next to one's ears, right above one's ears. In Maseches Makkos, we get a little more, precise. But whatever the case is, when one does a full hair shave, which, by the way, is what a Nazir is required to do, the peos harosh, the side locks, that hair gets shaven off. So our question is, we can understand, and we'll see why it is, we can understand a person who was a definite Nazir and definitely became Tomei. So he has to do this. This is what the Torah requires. But if you're in doubt, how can you go ahead and do a clear Torah violation when the mandate for doing it is only because you're in doubt that maybe you need to have it done? Now, one more point before we go on in the Gemara, just by way of introduction. We mentioned that the Nazir haircut would be, if done outside of the Nazir circumstances, would be a violation of Lo Sakifu Pas Roshchem. The Gemara itself will raise a discussion concerning what exactly is that prohibition. Technically, the word takifu means to go around. Maybe you're familiar with the word of hakofos. On Simchas Torah, the custom is to dance around in a circle with the Sifrei Torah. Hakofa means to go around. The Torah prohibition of Lo Sakifu Pas Roshchem, what exactly is that? We mentioned it involves removing the hair growing on one's above one's ears, or to the side, next to one's ears, or in front of one's ears. The removal of that hair is problematic. However, is it problematic only if you shave the head around, leaving a crop of hair in the middle of one's head? That, we can say, is clearly a violation, because that is, in fact, the literal translation of the pasuk. Do not shave your head around. Or does it involve a bald type shaving? I don't know what the common term referring to that, the shiner type haircut, where you can see some people do that. They shave off all the hair on their head, leaving a bowling pin look to their heads. That's called hakofas kol harosh. That kind of haircut is what a Nazir, upon the conclusion of his Nazirus, or in the event that he becomes Tomei, he shaves his head thusly. Is that also a violation of Lo Sakifu Pas Roshchem? On the one hand, he is removing the hair near one's temples. On the other hand, he didn't merely shave around, leaving a crop of hair in the middle. So in our opening discussion, we're going to see this idea that Hakofas Korosh is considered a violation of Baal Takifu. Baal Takifu is the expression. Baal means do not, like lo. We say Baal Takifu, do not cut around one's head. So now, with that, general introduction, we now turn to the Gemara. Megalchin u'Mevin. We said that these two gentlemen, the two Nazirim, where Tuma affected one of them, we just don't know who it was. After an initial 30 days, they both take haircuts and they bring the sacrifices. Ve'amai. Why is it that they are expected to take? In other words, each one of these fellows eventually is going to be taking 2 Nazir type haircuts. But why is that allowed? Dilmo lav tamein inun v'ka'ovid hakofa. Maybe they were not tamei, this one or that one. And we know that one of them was tamei, but when you look at each individual, maybe he wasn't tamei. And by taking the second haircut, that's an unnecessary haircut. The first haircut, fine, that was necessary because he completed his Nazirus. The second haircut is because we're looking at the first haircut after 30 days as being for tumah purposes. The second haircut after an additional 30 days would be for the completion of the Nazirus. But maybe he doesn't need that. Maybe after the first 30 days he fulfilled all his Nazir obligations because he was really never Tomei. Omar Shmuel. Shmuel says, this is a real serious question. So my solution, my way of understanding the Mishnah is Be'isha v'koton. The 2 Nazirim in the Mishnah were women or children. 2 women or 2 children, or woman and child possibly. But they're 2 individuals that are not bound by that law of Baal Takif. The Gemara, it asks what might be a rhetorical question. The Gemara says, Velukma begadol. Why not say that the Mishnah is talking about a male adult, that Nazir, 2 male adults. V'hakofas kol harosh lo shmo hakofa. And the Nazir type haircuts, the bowling pin style haircut, doesn't constitute a violation to begin with. Let's read this again. Velukma begadol, v'hakofas kol harosh lo shmo hakofa. Midalo mokim lahachi, from the fact that the Mishnah is not set up like that, the fact that Shmuel doesn't use that explanation. Shmuel, in order to explain the Mishnah and the double haircut, had to say, it's talking about women or children, from the fact that Shmuel doesn't set up the Mishnah as dealing with 2 adult men and hakofas kol harosh, the complete head shaving is not a problem of Baal Takif. Shma mino kosavar Shmuel, it must be that Shmuel holds hakofas kol harosh mo hakofa. A complete head shaving is a violation of Baal Takif. Not just shaving the head around, leaving a crop of hair in the middle, but the entire head shaving. When we say head shaving, we mean again head shaving down close to the skin, a razor type cut. That is a problem of Baal Takif. And in order to justify the double haircut featured in the Mishnah, you'd have to say it is referring to people that are not restricted or bound by that prohibition. In other words, it's a prohibition that affects male adults. Marzutra Masni Law Leha Shmaitza de Shmuel Aseifa. Marzutra presents a second version and applies Shmuel to the Seifa. The Seifa is a reference to a Mishnah on Daf Nun Tes Amid Beis, Mishnah later on. What does it say there? Nazir shoyos tomei besofek umuchlot besofek. A Nazir, this is something that we've learned in our recent shiurim. A Nazir who became involved with a double doubt that he was tomei mace, and a doubt that he was a mitzora muchlot oichel bekotshim lachar shishim yoim umegaleach arba tiglochos. He is entitled to eat sacrificial meat after a period of 60 days. The Nazirus spoken about here was a 30-day Nazirus period. He observes 30 days. He takes a haircut after 30 days, thinking that it's the end of his Nazirus, but we tell him no, it might be the first of 2 Mitzorah-related haircuts. So he waits another 30 days, and takes a second haircut, thinking that, well, now he's completed his Nazirus, and we tell him, no, that second haircut is because of the original tzoras requirement that you might have been a metzora muchlat. Oh, so that 60 days have gone by. Now he has he's completed his tumah requirements. He can now resume the eating of sacrificial meat, which demands purity. However, when can he drink wine? What about his own Nazirus obligations? So there he has to wait another 60 days, another 30 days to do a hair shaving for the possible tumah requirements, tumas mace, which demands a separate haircut, and then on a final 30 days to complete 120 days to fulfill his Nazirus tahara haircut requirement. So all told, 4 haircuts. And when we speak about haircuts here, we're talking about a complete head shave. With regard to the metzora, there's even more than just a head shave. It's a body hair removal, but certainly 4 complete head shaves. And how is it that we're imposing this on the person? Amai v'ha ka'ovid hakofa. You have an issue of, on the one hand, a doubt. On the other hand, you have a definite violation. If he is not tamei, then he is definitely violating Baal Takif. Omar Shmuel Be'isha v'katan. Shmuel says that the Mishnah there on Daf Nun Tes is talking about either a woman who had been a Nazira or a child who had been a Nazir and encountered these doubts. And they are not bound by the Torah prohibition of Baal Takif. Before we go further in the Gemara, you can see there's a slash mark indicating that which follows is a new trend of thought. There is, of course, an obvious connection between the continuation of the Gemara, but it's a new trend of thought. Nevertheless, on the side we have a nosei topic heading, Machlokas Amoraim. We're going to see an Amoraic disagreement between Rav Huna and Rav Ado. Their names are underlined. Be'inyan Ish Godol means a male adult. Hamakif es hakoton, who shaves the head of a kohen around, cutting off we call the peos harosh. The controversy will be charted out on the other side of our Gemara. You can see a little chart which is entitled Hamakif es hakoton. So the subject of the haircut in this case is a minor. Now, who is doing the haircut? You can see on our chart there are 2 columns. And one column is entitled Ish. Gadol means an adult male. The other column is entitled Isha. A woman is doing the haircut. What are the opinions? So Rav Huna says that if a male adult is doing the haircut of the child, the shave around, or the head peos removal, Rav Huna says if a male adult is doing it to a child, the male adult is guilty of violating the Torah law. If a woman does it, she's exempt. According to Rav Ada, since the subject is a child, it doesn't matter who is doing the haircut. They are both exempt. Now, how does each one come to their respective conclusions? That is what we'll see in the Gemara. Omar Rav Huna, Hamakif es hakoton, Harei hu chayav. According to Rav Huna, a male adult that shaves the head of a child, shaves it around, this male adult is in violation of the Torah law. Omar le Rav Ada bar Ava le Rav Huna. Rav Ada asks Rav Huna a rather personal question. V'di doch man megaleach lahon, your little boys, who shave their head around? From this Gemara, it seems that Rav Huna's sons had what we would call a mohawk-style haircut. My intention is not to be humorous or to be, let's say, a style conscious, but that's what it seems to be, that Rav Huna's own little boys had this style haircut, where they the sides of their heads were shaved off, leaving hair growing in the middle. Well, if an adult male does that to a child, there is a violation. What about your kids? Omar lei. So Rav Huna said, Chuva, my wife. Now, we don't mean to be cynical or even humorous, but it sounds like the standard put the blame on the wife deal over here. But far be that from the truth. He was saying a halacha. He was saying Chuva, that was the name of his wife. And he is saying, Rav Huna is saying, women are not prohibited in doing this kind of haircut. Well, Rav Ada hears this and gets rather upset, and he says, Takberinun chuva leboneha. Now, if we translate this, it's going to sound shocking. So first we'll translate it. We'll say the shock effect, but then we'll look at the commentaries. Rav Ada says, your wife did it? Then let Chuva bury her sons. Now that sounds very shocking. Sounds like a major curse. So we take a look at Rashi. Omer le Rav Ada tigberinu lebonea. The lididcha the amris, according to you, Rav Huna, that said hamakif is a kotten chayev, when the child is the one receiving such a haircut, the one who does it is chayev. Well, ki makfis leishonami chayeves. If a woman does it, then she is also guilty. So she's a sinner. Well, according to you, then you've got a sinner wife. And who knows what happens to women like that? Could they end up burying their children? Avoladidi, as far as I am concerned, says Rav Ada, afilu godol hamakif es hakoton poter v'adin nami lisha. My opinion is that a cotton as a subject of a mohawk haircut is totally out of the picture. It doesn't matter if a male adult does it or a female does it to the child. There is total exemption. So as far as I am concerned, there's no reason to be upset with your kids having a mohawk haircut. But according to you, Rav Ada says to Rav Huna, you should be worried. So as far as Rav Ada is concerned, we can't say that he was really cursing the family, being that on his own opinion is that really nothing wrong happened. But he is challenging Rav Huna on Rav Huna's own terms. The Rosh has a different, let's say, tune to his commentary. Let's take a look at the Rosh. We have a star in the Rosh, the upper third of the Rosh commentary. Chuva tikbrinu libonea. V'chi he wrote so shetikbar's bonea. Does she want her children to die? Does she want to bury her children? She'ena yuras ha'inish al shima kefes asam. Is she not worried about the punishment for her shaving their heads thusly? So let's now turn back to the Gemara. Kulu shani de Rav Ada barava. All the years of Rav Ada lo ikayim leizara le Rav Huna. Rav Huna did not have children that lived. The Rosh adds a couple of words where we left off in the Rosh. If we pick up there in the Rosh commentary, have a kishkogash yotzis mufnei hasholit v'kovra bonea afal pi shelo kilelosa. There's an expression shkogash yotzis mufnei hasholit. It has to do with words that come forth unintended in front of the ruler. A person has to be very, very mindful, very, very careful of what he says. Things that a person says, even in a by the way, unintended fashion, can be dangerous. And that concept, that phenomenon is captured by the phrase kishkogash yotzim fnei hasholit. And well, Rav Ada said what he did, and in fact, even though he had no cursing intention, she ended up burying her children. Let's continue in the Gemara. Michti, Travayu Svira, both Rav Huna and Rav Ada hold, hakofas kol harosh shmo hakofa. A complete head shaving, which is is what a Nazir has to do, they hold that's called hakofa. If we look together in the Rashi, mifti travayu svira lahu hakofas kol harosh shmo hakofa, v'ha have lahu hakofas kol harosh levonov de Rav Huna. We have to make a minor adjustment concerning that which we said before when Rav Ada noticed the haircut of Rav Huna's boys. We suggested that Rav Ada saw Rav Huna's kids with a mohawk style haircut. It would be more accurate for us to say Rav Ada noticed that Rav Huna's boys had their hair completely shaved off, the bowling pin style haircut. And this you can see in Tosfos, Dibur Masel v'didcho man megalech lon shara bonim ketanim megulachim rosheim im pehosehem, that their heads were completely shaved off with their side locks, nothing remaining. And with that having been said, we now appreciate the Gemara's observation. Now, both Rav Huna and Rav Ada are of the opinion that a complete head shaving, if done, of course, to a male adult, would be a violation. So, if they're in agreement on that, the Gemara asks, B'mai komiflagi? What is their point of disagreement? Once again, we saw clearly on the chart where they disagree, where Rav Huna said that an adult male who is makif, the head of a cotton, is chayav, a woman would be potter, and Rav Ada says both man and woman doing it to a cotton would be exempt. How do we explain their controversy? The Gemara explains, Rav Huna Sovar. Rav Huna, who made a distinction between man and woman when shaving around the head of a minor, the pasuk says, Lo sakifu pas roishchem velo sashchis es pas zekonecha. Do not shave your heads around, nor shave like a razor shave of your facial hair, meaning your beard. And this pasuk is the basis of the Torah level prohibition. It's a very serious level offense to use we'll say a hand razor blade for shaving one's face. That method of shaving is strictly prohibited by the Torah. The issue concerning the use of electric shavers, that there's room certainly to, let's say, allow, be lenient regarding different models of electric shavers. But let's say one thing that's absolutely clear is the prohibition of using a manual razor blade shave, a very close, smooth facial shave with a razor blade, a manual razor blade. That's strictly prohibited by the Torah. So in the pasuk you see the juxtaposition of two prohibitions. One is the removal of side locks of one's hair on one's head, and the facial shave prohibition. Kol sheyesh loy hashchosa, anyone who is included in the facial beard prohibition, shave, yesh lo hakofa, is subject to the prohibition of head haircut cut around. V'hani noshi, when it comes to women folk, hoyol v'lesnehu b'hashchosa, they are not included in the facial prohibition. Women do not grow beards. Lesnehu nami b'hakofa, women folk are exempt from the laws concerning the head shave around, or the side lock hair removal. And therefore, since women are exempt, a woman who cuts the side locks, shaves around the head of a cotton, is certainly going to be exempt. She's not in violation of anything. Not only that, but if she were to do that kind of haircut to a male adult, she would not be in violation. Rav Ado bar Avo Sovar. Now Rav Ado made no distinction between man and woman cutting the hair around the head of a cotton. Rav Ado holds Echad HaMakif ve'Echad HaNikif b'mashma. The pasuk in warning against these prohibitions refers to the makif and the nikif. The makif is the one who's doing the haircut, and the nikif is the subject. The iskish makif, the nikif, and they are compared one to the other. Kol hecha de nikaf mechayev, makif nami mechayev, where the receiver of the haircut is subject to violation, subject to, let's say, to being guilty of violating laws. Of course, that's a reference to an adult. So then, the makif, the one who does the haircut, will be subject to prohibition, to being prohibited from performing such a haircut. When? Only when the subject of the haircut, the one receiving the haircut, is someone who is liable to observing or bound to keeping Torah law. V'hai koton hayavhu gufei lav bar oinshinu de mechayev. Since the cotton is as being a minor, he himself is not subject to punishment for violating laws. As a minor, he's exempt. Makif nami lo mechayev. The adult that does the haircut to a child, he is also exempt. So that's Rav Ado's approach, and therefore an adult male that's doing the haircut to a child who is exempt, he in turn, the one who's doing the haircut, is also exempt. So with that we can see the basis of Rav Huna's reasoning, which results in the adult male being restricted from cutting around the head of a child, and Rav Ado holding that an adult male will be exempt if he does that kind of haircut to a minor. The next sugya will focus on the issue of hakofas kol harosh, the shaving off of all of the hair of one's head, including the side locks. Is that a violation of Baal Takif? The Gemara will try to present that as a machlokes tanoim, as a tanaic controversy, but the Gemara will continue beyond just that suggestion with, we'll say, with alternative approaches. With that, we conclude our shiur for today.
This was a presentation of the Daf Map. We hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe to be informed of our other videos. For resources and more information, please visit our website at www.thedafmap.com.